We're going to look at a format of question that's used quite often for measuring attitudes. Now, quite often when you measure an attitude, you will want to use multiple measures or multiple questions to get at the same underlying attitude. Because most attitudes, many attitudes by nature are multidimensional. So what you tend to find in surveys is groups of questions or sub-questions under the same heading. We're going to do an example using the measurement of attitudes towards the paranormal. So here we've got this question which asks about rating the strength of your belief in the following. And we've got 5 items. We've got witchcraft, ghosts, extraterrestrial life, precognition, and then God. Because usually when we do kind of comparisons like this, we like to compare against baseline levels of belief in what we might call a traditional type of God or conventional type of God. And we're going to use the following rating scale. It's going to be a 1 to 10 rating scale, with 1 being do not believe at all and 10 being believe completely. So we're going to use the scale rank sub-question in JISC to do this. And this makes it a little bit easier. So rather than setting up 5 individual questions and each time designating the rating scale, we're going to set up one scale rank sub-question. How we do this is we go to add item and we scroll down to scale rank question. And here it gives us a few options. Now the first 3 are mandatory. We need the question text, we need the scale or rank values, and we need the row items. The question text then is going to be this one. Please rate your level, please rate the strength of your belief in the following. And we'll just pop that there in the question text. The scale or rank values are going to run from do not believe at all, which is going to be number 1, all the way up to 10, which is believe completely. So we need first of all a label for 1, and then it's just a matter of filling down through the various numbers until we get to number 10, which as you can see here is going to be believe completely. And then we paste that in. Now the next thing we need is a list of our row items in the first column. And that's going to be these 5 items here, these 5 terms. And we paste them in here. So when you're designing your own survey questions, you'll obviously can replace this with whatever it is that forms the topic of your own research. And when we're finished, we go to add question and it appears under our page like this. So now we've got something where the rows are made up of our question categories or sub questions. We have our master question here at the top, please rate the strength of your belief, and we've got our response options as column headers. If we now go into preview survey, you'll see that the respondent is now presented with this table where they can rate their level of belief in these different items. So they can go do not believe at all. If they're neutral on ghosts, they can go to 5 or 6. Extraterrestrial life, maybe they believe a little bit stronger, maybe they don't believe in precognition at all, and maybe they've got modest levels of belief in God. So it gives them, but from the point of view of administration as well, it's a little bit neater than using 5 sub questions all with the same answer, which would take up a lot of space and would be a little tiring for the respondent as well. When you're finished, we can click finish. Another way to set up this type of grid question is by using this type, which is grid question in JISC. And in this one, we're going to look at replicating or re-implementing a question from a paper that measures stigma towards tattooed people. So we're going to do this by using the grid question option. And here we go to add item and we go to grid question. Now the question text is more or less the same as the previous one. We're going to ask the respondent to please rate or indicate their level of agreement with the following. And the row items then are going to be each of these 4 statements. So we've got 4 statements. People who have tattoos are more likely to be irresponsible, more likely to use illicit drugs, more prone to violence, and people who commit crimes are more likely to have tattoos. So these are questions that are used in a previous paper that we looked at in my particular group that measured social stigma towards tattooed people. And you see here we don't have the option to enter answer categories yet. We do that afterwards. So we click add question and now it appears in our section here like this. So now we have the option to add a question column. And the advantage of using this one is that we can actually specify as many of these different ones as we want. We can have it set up as multiple choice. We can have it as a selection list, which is like the drop-down menu. Or if the questions are of a different format, if they're open format, we could give it single line free text. So I'm going to use multiple choice, single answer for this. The question text we already have. So I'm going to write in the answers here. And if you see in the exercise here, we're going to use this rating scale, which is a 5-point Likert scale from strongly disagree to strongly agree. You can use the numbers if you want, But as we'll see in a later video, when you export the data, you can ask JISC to assign a code to each of these answer categories as well. So it's not that crucial that you do use the numbers, although for the respondent certainly it's useful to have them and to see them. So this one here should be neither agree nor disagree. Sometimes you'll see neutral posed in this one, but it depends. It's up to you which one you use. And then when we go to add question, you'll see that in the viewer it changes the layout of that question to this. So now when we go into preview, you'll see that the respondent it changes to radio buttons rather than checkboxes. So they can click using the radio buttons what their level of agreement is with each of these. It has the advantage over these that even though the respondent can click one and only one, they can also click multiple boxes in the same line. If they do that in a question set up like this, they'll be given a direction to please don't select more than one answer per row, and they won't be able to submit the questions to move on to the next section or finish the survey. So these require one and only one. The advantage of this type of question with the radio buttons is that when they change, they don't get a warning. It just snaps to that one selection and erases the old one. And then when the respondent is finished, they can click finish. So these ones are sort of neater from the point of view of completion. They're also neater from the point of view of administration. And we click finish, and then that question is finished. And those are the two principal methods for setting up these grid type questions, which are often used to measure attitudes or set up with these kind of semantic differentials to measure beliefs or agreement on a continuum where it makes sense to give an indicator like belief or level of agreement.